at her own wedding. My daughter placed a photo of me at the entrance, but not with love, with the cruel caption, "No entry." She was supposed to be my pride, my joy. Instead, she humiliated me in front of everyone. I didn't fight, I didn't argue. I just turned around and walked away. My dreams of a happy family shattered in an instant. But 3 hours later, my phone lit up like fire. 73 missed calls. Her betrayal had exploded into chaos. The night had started so peacefully. My warm reading lamp glowed beside me, a coffee steaming on the table, newspaper in hand. But then, the phone buzzed violently against the armrest. My glasses caught the sharp blue light. As I picked it up, Eva's face filled the screen, smiling so brightly it hurt. "Dad, I have incredible news. I'm engaged." Behind her, I caught a glimpse of a luxury apartment. Marble counters, towering windows showing San Francisco glittering like a dream. Before I could answer, she shoved her hand toward the camera. A massive diamond sparkled like it was alive, scattering rainbows across her face. And then he appeared, a tall man with a perfect jawline and a toothpaste commercial smile. "Mr. Rice," he said smoothly, "I'm Harold Kensington. I promise your daughter will be the happiest woman in the world." Something in his voice, too polished, too perfect. My instincts twitched. Eva gushed, "Dad, he's a cryptocurrency investor. He has ambitious plans." She looked at him like he was her whole future. Harold interrupted with the kind of confidence money buys. "Markets are volatile, but I've diversified tech, energy, stable stocks." His tone was calm, rehearsed, almost like a salesman's pitch. But his eyes, they never stayed on me. They darted to something off-screen, as if he was checking another device. His gold watch glinted, but the way he angled it felt deliberate, like he wanted me to see. "When's the wedding?" I asked carefully. "March 15th. Eva squealed. "I know it's soon," but Harold found a last-minute cancellation at the Fairmont San Francisco. 2 months. Too fast. Way too fast. Harold's smile tightened. "When you know, sir. Eva deserved her dream wedding, and this venue won't wait." As he spoke, he twisted a gold ring on his pinky finger, not casually, but nervously. His other hand gripped Eva's shoulder, thumb moving in circles. Not affectionate, controlling. Eva leaned into him, glowing. "Dad, Harold's handled everything. The flowers, the vendors, the catering. I don't have to worry at all." That should have made me happy. But instead, a cold weight settled deep in my chest. Something about this man was off. His clothes were too sharp, too new like a costume. His confidence too smooth, like a performance. And I knew this story was only beginning point. 13 sleepless nights had passed since that video call. And still, Harold haunted my thoughts. His smile, his words, his too perfect confidence. Something inside me whispered, this man isn't what he seems. When Harold asked to meet me man to man, I agreed, not out of trust, but because I needed to know. The cafe he chose was pure Upper East Side luxury. Marble tables, quiet corners, meals that cost $50 just for the privilege of being seen there. And in the far booth, there he was, Harold, navy suit, polished shoes, but behind all that shine, his face looked tight, nervous. "Mr. Rice, thank you for coming." His handshake was firm, but damp. We sat. I asked a simple question. "How are the wedding plans going?" "Wonderful," he said quickly. Then his voice dropped low, almost a whisper. "But that's why I need to talk to you." He fidgeted with his cup, rotating it with surgical precision. Then came the question that felt like a trap. "Can I trust you with something confidential?" Every instinct in me screamed no, but I heard myself answer, "Of course." Harold leaned closer, eyes darting everywhere but mine. "My investments are temporarily frozen. Nothing serious. Just a regulatory review. 6 months, maybe less. But the wedding venue wants full payment up front. Catering, flowers, everything. And Eva, she dreams of a fairy tale wedding. I can't bear to disappoint her." I felt my stomach twist. He wasn't asking yet, but I knew where this was going. "How much?" I asked flatly. $50,000 would cover it. Just a loan. "I'll pay you back by the end of the year. With interest." He slid papers across the table, glossy, official-looking documents stamped with seals. They showed over $2 million in assets, temporarily inaccessible. The presentation was flawless. Too flawless. He produced those papers like a magician, pulling out a card he'd planted all along. Then he looked straight at me, for the first time, and said the words carefully rehearsed, "I love your daughter more than anything. Please, let me give her the perfect beginning to our life together." For a moment, I almost believed him. He was at good point. 50,000 wouldn't ruin me. And the thought of Eva's face on her wedding day, it weakened my judgment. "All right," I said slowly, "but she must never know about this." Harold's relief came too fast, too eager. "Of course. It would crush her if she knew. You have no idea how much this means to me, sir." I wrote the check with deliberate slowness, my pen hovering above the line. Harold's eyes followed my every move like a predator stalking prey. The moment I tore it free, he lunged forward, folded it neatly into his wallet, and stood up with a smile. "You won't regret this, Mr. Rice. Eva's wedding will be the most beautiful San Francisco has ever seen." And just like that, he was gone, rushing out, claiming urgent calls. I sat there, alone with cold coffee and a gnawing pit in my chest. Around me, wealthy strangers chatted about stocks and beach houses, but I heard nothing. My phone felt heavier than iron in my pocket. I should have called Eva. I should have asked the right questions. I should have checked his so-called business before handing over $50,000. But I didn't. I just sat there, finishing my coffee, carrying a secret that already felt like a mistake. And 6 long days later, that mistake only grew heavier. I moved through my Brooklyn apartment, like a ghost haunting his own life. The cordless phone is never far from my hand. Every surface seemed to mock me. The kitchen mocked me with spotless counters I no longer used. The living room sat silent, my books unread. And the bedroom, sleep only came in broken pieces. On the nightstand, Margaret's photo stared back at me, her gentle smile frozen in time. I traced my thumb across the glass and whispered the words she always lived by. "Truth is more important than comfort." If she were still here, she'd have known what to do. Margaret never trusted smooth talkers. When Eva was 16 and smitten with a boy who seemed too perfect, Margaret had run a background check more thorough than the FBI. But Margaret was gone, and I was left making choices that felt like betrayals of everything she had taught me about protecting our daughter. The phone buzzed in my hand. Eva's smiling face lit up the screen, the same intuitive eyes she'd inherited from her mother, eyes now blinded by love that I dialed. Hung up, then dialed again. "Dad, perfect timing." Eva answered cheerfully. "I just got back from the florist. Everything's coming together so beautifully." I tried to steady my voice. "How are the preparations going?" "Wonderful, Dad. Harold is handling everything. The band, the photographer, even the hotel staff. I don't have to worry about a thing, except showing up in my dress." Each word twisted in me like a knife. Harold was controlling it all. With her money. With my money. "Eva," I started, then stopped. The promise I'd made Harold tightened around my throat like chains. "Are you sure you know Harold well enough?" Her tone shifted instantly. Defensive. "Of course, Dad. Why do you ask?" I heard the rustle of paper, the clink of vases. She was moving around her apartment, probably arranging flowers, dreaming of her big day. "Just parental worries," I said quietly. "You've only known him a few months." 6 months, she corrected. "And when you meet the right person, time doesn't matter. You taught me to trust my instincts, remember? Well, my instincts say Harold is perfect." That word, perfect, echoed in my mind like a warning bell. Nothing in life was perfect, especially not people. "I'm sure you're right, sweetheart," I said softly. "I can't wait to dance with you at your wedding." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and pulled out the leather journal Margaret had given me years ago. Most of it was blank. Tonight, that had to change. My hand shook as I wrote. February 9th, 2025. Gave Harold $50,000 for wedding expenses. Eva doesn't know. Something feels wrong, but I made a promise that I pause, hearing Margaret's voice in my head. You're being a fool. But sometimes being a father means trusting your daughter's choices, even when they scare you. I closed the journal, slid it back into the drawer, and carried Margaret's picture with me to bed. If I was making a mistake, at least I wouldn't face it alone. 3 days later. That mistake followed me across the country. I stood outside Le Bernardin, San Francisco's temple of French cuisine, watching through the glittering windows. Inside, Harold and Eva laughed over champagne, their glasses glowing under the chandeliers. She looked radiant, lost in the dream. He looked satisfied. My morning flight from JFK had left me exhausted, but I'd still put on my best navy Brooks Brothers suit. Inside that restaurant of polished crystal and wealth, though, I suddenly felt small, cheap, and for the first time, I wondered, was I already too late to save her? Eva spotted me first. She floated across the restaurant in a flowing emerald dress, sparkling like she'd stepped out of a magazine. The diamond on her finger caught the light with every movement, blinding proof of a promise I was no longer sure was real. She hugged me tightly, her perfume wrapping around me like innocence I no longer trusted. Then Harold rose. Slow, deliberate, calculated. The charcoal pinstripe suit fit him like armor. Expensive, flawless, and bought no doubt with my money. Mr. Rice, wonderful to see you again. His handshake lingered, his thumb pressing too firmly against my knuckles. A subtle reminder, I'm in control here. He guided me to the table like he owned the room, then snapped his fingers for the sommelier. I've ordered a Montrachet. Elegant, complex. It pairs beautifully with the scallops. Before I could even thank him, he was lecturing about vintages and tannins, his words sharp, rehearsed, designed to drown me out. The John Dory is exquisite tonight, Harold continued, not even offering me the menu. Unless, of course, you prefer something more traditional. The way he said traditional carried a weight. Condescending, dismissive. Eva squeezed my hand across the table. Dad's adventurous, actually. Remember that sushi place in Chinatown? Harold's smile sharpened. Do you still use a checkbook, Mr. Rice? How authentic. His eyes glittered with malice while Eva giggled, as if I were some out-of-touch grandfather. I forced a calm smile. Sometimes the old ways work best. Harold leaned back, one arm draped around Eva like a trophy. Of course, though keeping track of expenses must be difficult without digital banking. You probably remember when Bitcoin cost pennies, don't you, sir? Eva shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should talk about something else. But Harold only smirked. My apologies. Not everyone adapts to new realities as quickly as I do. The waiter arrived with scallops arranged like artwork. Harold dissected them with surgical precision, explaining market volatility to Eva while throwing me scraps of conversation. Just enough to remind me that I didn't belong in their world. Eva's eyes glowed. Dad, you're lucky to have such a brilliant son-in-law. The words cut deeper than any insult. When the check arrived, Harold made a show of pulling out a sleek black card. I reached for my wallet, but he stopped me with a theatrical laugh. Please, Mr. Rice, this is my treat. I can certainly afford it. His eyes locked onto mine, a predator savoring victory. Outside, I watched him usher Eva into his Tesla, kissing her forehead like she was already his possession. His laughter trailed into the night air like a victory song. My fists clenched in the backseat of the taxi. Something was very, very wrong with Harold Kensington. Sleep never came. At 11:30, still wearing my wrinkled shirt and loosened tie, I sat at the cramped hotel desk. Wi-Fi code taped to the lamp, laptop glowing I typed. Harold Kensington. At first, the results looked clean. Too clean. LinkedIn, tech blogs, polished photos. All consistent. All curated. But deeper down, cracks appeared. A business registration. Kensington Digital Ventures. Filed 6 months ago. The listed address? A UPS mailbox. My pulse quickened. I searched again. Harold Kensington fraud. The screen filled with court records. Los Angeles County Superior Court. Case number CV 202478891. Defendant, Harold James Kensington. Charges, misappropriation of funds. identity theft, investment fraud. I whispered the words into the empty hotel room. Investment fraud. A woman's name appeared, Rebecca Martinez, 31. She had given Harold $180,000, believing in his promises of cryptocurrency wealth. Her photo showed kind, trusting eyes that looked hauntingly like Eva's. I searched further. More names, more victims. Sarah Chun, $95,000. Jennifer Walsh, $240,000. The same story. Every time, young women, bright futures, empty bank accounts, and the same predator, Harold James Kensington. I read aloud from a news article, my voice cracking, but it was the photo gallery that made my blood freeze. Harold with Rebecca at what looked like an engagement party. Harold with Sarah at a romantic dinner. Harold with Jennifer, her left hand prominently displaying a diamond ring identical to Iva's. I spent the next 4 hours printing everything. Court filings, news articles, victim testimonies, police reports. The hotel printer screeched like an alarm, spitting out evidence until the desk was buried under paper. Harold Kensington, Harold Morrison, Harold Richards. Different names, same predator. Every file told the same story. Dating apps, elaborate lies. 6 months of romance, just long enough to build trust. Then the proposal, the bank accounts, the money gone. By 5 a.m., my shirt clung to me with sweat, coffee cups piled around me like grave markers. The documents spread across the desk felt less like paper and more like tombstones, each one marking a woman Harold had buried in debt and betrayal. Rebecca, Sarah, Jennifer. Rebecca fought in court for 2 years before she gave up. Sarah tried to warn others online until Harold's lawyers crushed her into silence. Jennifer? She simply disappeared. Erased. The final document stopped me cold. An FBI profile. It described Harold in clinical terms. A narcissist with sociopathic tendencies, skilled at exploiting love and family ties for financial gain. The room tilted. My daughter wasn't just marrying a liar. She was marrying a predator trained to weaponize her trust. Dawn spilled across San Francisco, cruel in its beauty. My phone read 6:47 a.m. Eva would be humming to herself, brushing her hair, dreaming of a wedding Harold was already cashing in. Enough. The time for silence was over. At 7:15 sharp, I dialed. Morning, Dad. Her voice was bright, glowing. Wasn't dinner amazing? My throat burned. Eva, I need you to sit down. There's something I have to tell you. She laughed nervously. I'm getting ready for work. What's wrong? You sound so serious. I gripped Rebecca Martinez's court filing in my hand, like a shield. Eva, Harold asked me for $50,000 for the wedding. Silence. You told me he was a millionaire. Her breath hitched. You're lying. Harold would never. He tells me everything. I pushed on, my voice steady. He said his assets were frozen. He made me promise not to tell you. Eva, sweetheart, he's in court for fraud. I have the documents. Case number CV 2024-7891. He stole money from a woman named Rebecca Martinez. Movement in the background. Harold's voice muffled but sharp. What's wrong? Eva's breathing turned shallow. Panicked. You're making this up, she cried. You can't stand that I'm grown up. You don't want me to be happy. Before I could answer, the line shifted. Harold's voice slid to the receiver like poison. Mr. Rice, I know you're worried, but your accusations? Completely false. That case in Los Angeles? Dismissed. Old business disputes. Nothing more. My jaw locked. The case is still pending. Harold, I have the active filings. He chuckled softly, the sound of a predator toying with prey. Outdated paperwork. I assure you, Eva knows the truth. My finances are secure. You're just confused. Behind him, I heard her sobbing. Then his tone changed, softer, manipulative, dripping with control. Sweetheart, your father's trying to sabotage us. Some parents just can't let go. I snapped. Let me talk to my daughter. She's too upset, Harold replied smoothly. You've hurt her enough. And then Eva's voice cut through, raw and broken. How could you do this, Dad? How could you lie about Harold just to ruin my wedding? I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to shut a phone in my hand. I'm not lying, Eva. There are photos, court records, other women, engagement rings just like yours. Enough. Her voice was final, sharp as broken glass. You can't accept that I found someone who loves me for who I am, not who you want to be. I tried once more, my voice breaking. Eva, please, just look at the evidence before you marry him. I'm sending everything to your email right now. Her answer hit like a blade. Don't come to my wedding. I mean it. You've chosen to believe lies over your own daughter's happiness. The line went dead. I sat in silence. The evidence scattered around me like the ruins of 28 years of fatherhood. Through the hotel window, couples strolled hand in hand toward Valentine's Day brunches, oblivious to the war being lost in room 412. The email sat unsent, my finger frozen above the keyboard. Harold had won. He'd twisted my protection into persecution, my love into control. But fathers don't surrender. Not completely. A month crawled by. 31 sleepless nights wandering my Brooklyn apartment like a ghost. 31 mornings staring at Eva's photo on my phone until my eyes burned. The manila folders lay untouched on the kitchen table, their surfaces stained with coffee rings. Evidence turned into decoration. Neighbors noticed. Mrs. Patterson from downstairs left concerned voicemails. The mailman asked if I was away, nodding at the pile of unopened envelopes. Even my doctor's office called about a missed appointment I couldn't remember scheduling. But nothing mattered. Tomorrow, March 15th, my daughter would marry Harold Kensington. With or without me, I lifted Margaret's silver frame, tracing her smile with my thumb. Margaret, what would you do? Her eyes seemed to whisper the words I've been resisting. Sometimes love means letting go. Maybe the court records were wrong. Maybe the photos were fake. Maybe Harold truly loved Eva, and my jealousy was a real enemy. Fathers never give away daughters easily. Maybe this was my weakness, not his crime. By noon, I'd made my choice. I would go to the wedding. I would bless their union. At Cartier on Fifth Avenue, I bought the gift, a necklace worth more than most people's cars. Diamonds like captured stars. The saleswoman wrapped it in ivory silk, her hands careful with a piece of love disguised as apology. On the card I wrote only, for my daughter on her wedding day. All my love, Dad. San Francisco. The Fairmont rose before me like a marble wedding cake, banners fluttering. The Rice, Kensington celebration. I stepped from the cab, gift in hand, heart pounding against my ribs. Guests floated past in silken laughter, their voices weaving with the distant notes of string quartet. I recognized faces. My brother Frank, Eva's college roommate, neighbors from Queens. And then I froze. My own face stared back at me from an ornate easel by the doors, blown up to poster size. Black and white. Formal. Official. Beneath it, elegant calligraphy spelled out the verdict. Entry forbidden. Giles Rice, by request of the bride and groom. The gift slipped from my hand, the silk box landing softly on marble. Gasps fluttered through the guests. Some looked away. Others stared openly, recognizing me. The father barred from his own daughter's wedding. A security guard appeared, his badge reading Martinez. His tone was professional, but his eyes carried pity. Sir, you're not expected here. I swallowed hard. This is my daughter getting married. His hand rested gently on my elbow. I'm very sorry. The couple's instructions were clear. Through the glass doors, I saw the reception hall blooming with roses and crystal. Every detail Harold's perfectionism could buy. Bought with her money. With my money. Guests flowed past me like water around stone, their whispers trailing like smoke. My shame was public, immortalized in that photograph. Harold hadn't just stolen my daughter. He'd orchestrated my exile, branding me toxic, unworthy, erased. I bent down and placed the Cartier box carefully against the easel. The diamonds inside would catch the light on Eva's throat one day, if she ever chose to open it. Now, I understood Harold. This wasn't love. It was conquest, a performance, and I was the final act of humiliation. I straightened my tie, nodded to Martinez. Could you call me a taxi, please? I need to get to Chase Bank before they close. His eyes flickered, hearing something dangerous in my comm. He nodded quickly. Of course, sir. As I slid into the cab, I looked one last time at my own face. The face of a father turned ghost, framed and forbidden. That man had been a fool. But I wasn't a fool anymore. I walked into Chase Bank with the same calm I once used to close million-dollar deals. The young banker, Jessica, her name tag read, smiled politely. Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you? I placed my ID and documents on the counter. My voice was steady, almost rehearsed. I need to cancel a check immediately. Her fingers tapped the keyboard. Certainly. Do you have the number and amount? Check number 2847, $50,000, payable to Harold Kensington. I spelled each letter of his name slowly, watching her type. Jessica hesitated. Sir, if this check has already been submitted, canceling could cause problems for the recipient. I met her eyes, cold and unwavering. That's exactly what I want. She understood. She'd seen this before. Bitter divorces. Business partners at war. Without another word, she pulled out the forms. There's a $35 processing fee. Once you sign, the cancellation is instant. Any attempts to cash this check will be declined. Perfect. I signed with the same signature I'd used on the original check. Ironic, really. One stroke of my pen had funded Harold's empire. Another stroke just destroyed it. Jessica handed me the receipt. Here's your confirmation number, Mr. Rice. I folded it carefully and slipped it into my wallet, right beside Eva's graduation photo. Somewhere across San Francisco, Harold was smiling, thinking everything was under control. The vendors, the caterers, the music, the flowers, all funded by me. But in a few hours, he'd learned what it felt like when the ground beneath him suddenly gave way. By evening, the ceremony had begun. Eva was walking down the aisle, guests still dazzled by the spectacle. But soon, the cracks would show. The caterers would ask for payment. The florists would demand settlement. One by one, the credit cards Harold loved flashing in public would fail. Declined, declined, declined. The music would stop. The photographer would pack up. Centerpieces would be carried out, one by one, from tables full of horrified guests. And there, in the center of it all, Harold's mask would shatter, his practiced smile gone, replaced by sweat and rage. Your father, he did this. He ruined our wedding. His voice would rise above the whispers, desperate, panicked. I wasn't there to see it, but my phone told a story. First, texts, strange payment issues, vendors confused. Harold looks like he's seen a ghost. Then the calls, 73 of them. I poured myself a scotch and listened as voicemail after voicemail played Harold's collapse in real time. Mr. Rice, there must be a banking error. Please call me back. Sir, I need you to fix this immediately. Please. The wedding is falling apart. Eva's crying. Don't do this. By the 68th message, his voice broke. Confession slipped out through cracks. I know what you think, but I can explain. The money, yes, I needed it, but I was going to pay you back. Please, don't destroy this. Your daughter needs me. Then came the one that mattered. Message 74. But it wasn't Harold's voice. It was Eva's. Dad, she whispered, broken. You were right. About everything. The money, the women, the lies. He confessed. Please come back. I need you. For the first time in months, I felt something other than rage. I felt my daughter reaching for me again. Pack your things, sweetheart, I told her when I finally answered. We'll figure the rest out tomorrow. 3 months later, she came home. 2 suitcases. Hollow eyes, but stronger, wiser. Dad, forgive me. You were right about everything. She collapsed into my arms, like the little girl who once cried when she scraped her knee. And then justice arrived. On the evening news, Harold's mugshot filled the screen. Gone was the polished charm. Only a hollow-eyed con man remained. Businessman Harold Kensington arrested for fraud in excess of $2 million, spanning multiple states. Authorities confirm at least 4 victims. Eva's voice cracked. I wasn't the only one, was I? I named the women whose photos I had printed months ago. You weren't his first, but you'll be his last. The FBI had everything now. My evidence, his mistakes, his house of cards collapsing piece by piece. 15 to 20 years in prison. That was his future. Eva looked at me, tears in her eyes. What now? I looked around our small apartment. Humble, honest, safe. I looked at Margaret's photo smiling from a mantel. Now we rebuild, I said softly. Together. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger or violence or even money. It's truth. It's love. It's justice. And justice, when it finally comes, is sweeter than revenge could ever be.